Welcome to the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, the first on-track activity on this Thursday. The NASCAR Nationwide Series teams just out on the racetrack. 77 degrees right now, winds out of the northeast at 9 miles per hour. It's overcast, but really very little chance of rain here this afternoon. And the good news is little chance of rain throughout the weekend. Glad you're with us, folks. Steve Burns, Hermie Sadler, Jeff Hammond. And, you know, Hermie, this is a big race for the NASCAR Nationwide Series competitors. 51 cars here, and let's talk about the schedule. It's a little bit challenging for them.
Well, it really is, and this is a high-profile race for the Nationwide Series, just like it is for the Sprint Cup guys, but very challenging schedule when you look at the practice right now in the heat of the day. Another practice tonight from 6 to 7. The race is actually at 7:30, so a little bit more in the evening. So challenging to find the right balance to get a good race set up, and also, Jeff, qualifying in the middle of the day on Saturday. So these guys are going to have a whole day off tomorrow before they get back in the car for Saturday.
And again, when you talk about this racetrack, I have to say Lowe's Motor Speedway is one of the more fickle racetracks that we race on, because whenever it gets hot and sunny, it has a totally different characteristic than when it is when it's cool. Today it is cloudy. Hopefully Mother Nature's still a race fan like she was last Saturday night when they had a whale an all-star race. You know, she stayed away then. Hopefully she'll stay away today. But to me, I'm taking a look at the guys that like the regulars. And when I say regulars, you talk about Kyle Busch, you talk about Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick. They've got a little bit of feel of what this tire is all about, guys. So I'm looking for them to kind of carry the speed of this racetrack and kind of show us what it's all about. I think they got a better comfort level as far as the track's concerned right now, knowing what they may need in these race cars. So it'll be real interesting to see if they're going to be the ones you're going to have to wind up beating for the pole, not only come Saturday night.
Well, Kyle Busch won both races here a year ago. In fact, he did so in two different cars, a year ago for Braun Racing and then in the fall for Joe Gibbs Racing.
And Steve, I thought we heard also that we're checking, he's won for three different car owners
teams
here at this racetrack. So again, what I was saying about his like of this racetrack is a great indicator of what this track can give you. And I think if you're not careful, you can get yourself in trouble real quick. You know, the way that thing out there is running around this racetrack and the way he loves going around here. And Herbie, he don't use any brakes.
No brakes.
That's what he told me today driving around the racetrack with him earlier.
We're down in the
got
garage.
the car almost up against the wall right there, Steve. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Just about got in the outside retaining wall coming up off of turn 4. Believe it or not, it was the 77 car. He got real close to the outside safety barrier.
Peyton Sellers driving the 77. Let's go back to the garage with the editor of Speedway Illustrated magazine, Dick Berggren.
And I'm coming to you from Carl Edwards' garage. Edwards currently is second in the points. He has not won yet this year, but he has finished in the second spot 4 times. The car he's driving finished second in California. Edwards' goal, get this thing fast enough in this practice session so that he can get finally a win. He's won here before. A couple of years ago, he wound up first here at Lowe's. Wendy Venturini.
Thank you, Dick. Kyle Busch comes into Lowe's Motor Speedway with a lot of confidence, as you guys mentioned. Keep in mind, he made his nationwide debut right here at Lowe's Motor Speedway back in 2003. Since then, he's amassed 24 wins, 4 of them at this racetrack. That's the most wins at any other racetrack for Kyle Busch, and he is enjoying this weekend at home. He's actually headed to a charity event later on tomorrow at Speed Street. Race fans get a chance to race against Kyle Busch in a go-kart, and of course, they're calling it the Lil 600, and that's L-I-L, Steve Burns.
The Lil 600. Thank you, Wendy. And we're under caution. Brad Keselowski in the 88 car has made contact. He's headed to the garage. Take a look, boys, at what happened.
It's coming off turn 2 right there. And looks like something broke or a tire went down or something.
Well, he just never did get a turn,
did he? And the car never did turn.
Well, you know yourself, Carmi, coming up off that corner, if you miss that apex of that corner, it'll throw you out of the groove. And it's almost like I say, he got up out of the groove. And even though we raced here last week, let's see if we can listen.
On board with Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, you hear it.
Yeah, something happened.
Tire went down on the right side.
Something happened, yeah.
Big. Right here he is.
You could hear that tire right there. There the right front is. You'll take a look right in this area here. There it is. I know the damage on the front end looks really bad, but that tire went down, Steve. You could hear it. He was coming up out of that corner, and all of a sudden on board you could hear da-da-da-da, and you could hear that tire just go down, and he automatically went down on the frame and straight into the wall.
Yeah, that's a great view and audio from inside that car coming off turn 2. You could actually hear it and that's hard contact coming off turn 2.
Yeah, you can see right there, that is what you call heavy impact in that part of the racetrack. And that's right where the safer barrier ends, about where that wheeling sign is. It finally turns to concrete, but you can see that car right there, definitely, they'll be going to a backup.
So just 5 minutes into this 90-minute practice, Brad Keselowski brings out the caution, hitting the wall. We'll take another look at it as we head to break. Let's listen to Brad Keselowski's impact. Back to Lowe's Motor Speedway after this. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice from Charlotte is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, the official auto insurance provider of NASCAR. We're under caution. Brad Keselowski made contact 5 minutes into this practice. Wendy Venturini is with him.
It's been a chaotic morning for Brad Keselowski. I saw you check out the car, obviously going to a backup. Do you guys know exactly what cut that right front tire that went down?
Oh, it looks like something on the inside cut it down. It's hard to tell if it's something I ran over or not, but definitely cut a right front tire down and shot straight up across the racetrack, which is unfortunate for the Junior Motorsports team. You know, everybody on this team worked real hard. That's a car we just fixed that got wrecked at the start of the year. So maybe there's something wrong with that car where it wants to wreck. But we got a backup GoDaddy.com Chevrolet, and we'll get it ready, and we'll be back out there.
I saw you run over, look at the seat, and check inside the race car. What were you looking for?
I just wanted to make sure everything was there so that we could get right on track with this car, and they did a great job in the shop. Everything's there. It's ready to go.
All right, the 88 team is going to be hard at work for the next hour.
All right, thank you very much, Wendy. So caution continues here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. This is scheduled to be a 90-minute practice.
I was going to say, the one good thing about that, they may not get back on the racetrack in 90 minutes, or they might. Depends on NASCAR decides to do it, but they at least have got a final practice coming up later on this afternoon. They get this number 88, dialed in like they need for it too. But man, I tell you right now, Hermie, I've been on a team that crashed at the very beginning of a practice, and you're talking about something that really challenges you. I mean, it takes all the wind out of your sails. You come in here, you're all hopped up, you're ready to go, you've gone through inspection, you feel like you got your best piece put on the racetrack. You pump your driver, man, go out there and give me a couple of good laps here, and let's see where we are. And all of a sudden, the spotter's telling you, the driver's on the radio, and you see it. He's in the outside of the safer barrier, and like I say, man, it just kills you emotionally.
Well, one thing he said was they had just repaired this car and got it back to the racetrack, so chances are something on the suspension or inside of that car. Jeff Hammond brought up maybe a ball joint sometimes. It's hard to simulate the travel of these cars until you actually get on the racetrack and do it. So a lot of stuff moving. Looks like maybe some cut that tire down that caused this problem for him.
Let's go to Dick Bergeron.
Well, Mike Sabrini, my spotter for today, just told me that it was a bolt on the front anti-roll bar that cut that right front tire down on Keselowski's car. And I'll tell you what, the word has gone through this garage faster than a rumor goes through the Fox television network. And it is. Everybody wants to know how much clearance do they have between that right front bolt and their right front tire. And crew chiefs, of course, have all told their drivers, you've got plenty of room, don't worry about a thing.
Steve, now one thing I want to point out, Brad, has a little bit of a feel for this new tire, but this is the first time this series has seen this particular combination, which was raced last weekend in the All-Star event that Goodyear brought here this week. So maybe with, again, what you brought out, Hermie, new car, they did their stuff at the shop, but it doesn't take a lot. You can get ahead of a bolt and get into the sidewall of a tire, because these sidewalls are very thin and a lot of flex there. Yeah. And if it got against it, I mean, it is just like holding basically the blade of a knife against it. It'll cut it down in a heartbeat. It doesn't take a whole lot. Looking there at Jeff Burton.
3 wins here, Nationwide Series competition for Burton. One good thing we should mention, we've talked, we talked a lot during All-Star Week about how many of the teams are located in close proximity to this racetrack. Same thing for the Nationwide Series teams, many of them right up the highway or right around the corner, basically.
It really is a big weekend for these guys, and this is a great place to win a race. Had a lot of prestige and very hard to win a race here, and you can be proud of it when you make it happen. No question about it.
Quietest guy on the racetrack right there.
And
Brenny,
what's the problem then? Because he's never the quietest guy.
Brendan gone.
Let's go back to Wendy.
Oh, thank you. See, Jeff Burton was able to get 2 laps out there on the racetrack. Were you able to get a good feel for your car out there?
Yeah, I really did. This is Doug's first week, so we've changed a lot of stuff and we're trying something. So right now we're just working on figuring out how, what our travels are and all that. The car drives really good. We just got to get a little more travel in the car, but I'm real optimistic.
All right, good luck to Jeff Burton. His neighbor in the garage area, Brad Keselowski, the 88 team already has a backup car on the jack stands and switching things out.
Well, thank you, Wendy. He mentioned Doug Randolph now with Richard Childress Racing and crew chiefing that team. We'll take a break and come back for more practice from Lowe's Motor Speedway. Back up to speed here at Lowe's Motor Speedway for NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. This is their 11th race of the season. 55th time the Nationwide Series teams have been on this racetrack. Hermie, you have 17 career starts on this racetrack. What is the most challenging part about getting your car? I always hear guys talk about this, getting it comfortable.
Yeah, that's a big thing, too. You really got to have a lot of comfort, a lot of grip at this kind of racetrack. But since they repaved it this last time, it really hadn't gone back to the old Lowe's Motor Speedway yet. Turns 3 and 4, the old humpy bumps we used to call them, were always a challenge to get your car to hook up over those bumps, Jeff, and get the car gripped down in that part of the racetrack so you can get in the throttle and carry that speed off turn 4.
Yeah, and to me, one of the things that I think that gets your attention and I thought was always kind of challenging was this, getting it down this tricky tri-oval area of the racetrack, because you want to get the car out, run straight across here, and also you got to get out close to the outside wall. But then getting to the bottom of the racetrack into one, it's easy to overdrive that corner, which can have a tendency to shove you up because you carry a lot of speed off of turn 4, like Hermie's talking about. You get the car working through 3 and 4, all of a sudden, man, you're flying down this front straightaway into turn 1. If you miss the entrance to that corner right there, it can really upset the rest of that lap, and it can really create a lot of problems for you.
Greg Biffle in the 16 car is quickest after 7 laps. Hermie, a few years ago, I remember hearing Jimmy Johnson during the race talking about his car landing. And it seemed as though Jeff was just talking about getting through turn 1, how he was getting through turn 1, and then his car would kind of take a set. Explain that.
Well, what happens when you're going down into turn 1, as Jeff Hammond said, you take that late arc, you get up way against the wall, because what you want to do is you want to make that corner, you don't want to have to turn the wheel any more than you possibly have to get the car to turn, because that scrubs off speed. So what you do is you go way out, going into turn 1, stay out to the wall, turn the car down, and when you make that turn, that entry into turn 1, your car gets light. Almost like being on a roller coaster. The car gets light when you get down in the middle of 1 and 2. That's when your car lands. That's when you have maximum travel and hopefully maximum grip. You want to get that car to turn right in the center to pick that gas up. But it's much like a roller coaster. You get that light feeling, and then bam, you land in the middle of the corner. And when you do, you got to be ready to pick the gas up.
The guys, I was noticing right there, we were watching Greg Biffle in that 16 car, and he was up at the back of the 11 car, Scott Lagasse, and it looked almost like Greg was already starting to work the outside grooves. I mean, from last weekend, we saw that outside groove work really well during the All-Star race, and it looks to me like it's still working this weekend, showing up here as far as his first practice is concerned. So kind of an interesting way for Greg to start attacking this race course early on.
That's one thing, as we see Steve Wallace currently 15th fastest. Jeff, one thing, I never got to race here at night a whole lot in a Nationwide car, but this night race here with these cars really seems like to bring in the more multiple grooves. In the daytime, it seemed like you want to be right at the bottom, but at night, it seemed like you could move around a little bit more.
Let's go back to the garage and Wendy.
Well, Mike Bliss has brought his race car into the garage area. If you check out right above the left rear tire, they had a pretty good rub going on. They're going to shift the rear end a little bit over. The crew chief is making some track bar adjustments. They're going to put it on jack stands, continue to make adjustments, but you can see how the paint has kind of chipped away from that rub on the left rear tire.
And to me, guys, I think it kind of backs up what Hermie was talking about this racetrack. We talked about this new tire Goodyear brought. A lot of grip, because you're seeing a lot of body, a lot of transfer of the weight as far as that car, moving from the right to the left with the rear end housing. A lot of grip, sidewalls flexing. That's what happens whenever that body and everything. Body goes one way, tires go the other, and then all of a sudden they meet in the middle.
Take a look at our timing and scoring. Just said a moment ago, Greg Biffle is the quickest, followed by Carl Edwards and Paul Menard, and David Reagan, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Brian Vickers, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Top 9 drivers, the quickest. All of them doing double duty here this weekend. In fact, 15 in total running both races.
And again, Steve, they all had a test session last weekend, again, to better understand what this racetrack was going to be like, what the tires are going to feel like. They were able to go back and tell the guys at the shops this past week, hey, I think this, I believe this, and if we do this, we should be better when we come off the truck. And so far, it's proven out.
And I'll tell you something else. As a driver who's done both, when you get out of that Sprint Cup car and get into a Nationwide car, you've got less horsepower, more downforce. The cars drive better. You feel like Superman when you hop in this Nationwide car. You can really get aggressive with it.
Hermie Scott Speed slowing down, took the pole at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, also 1.5 miles. Any similarities in between Vegas and Lowe's Motor Speedway?
Since they've repaved and redesigned Vegas with more banking, it certainly is a lot of similarities between the two. And Scott Speed has proven that he can go fast. The next evolution for him in this Nationwide car is to put himself in position to win some races.
Jeff Hammond, as we watch John West Townley, the youngster out of Georgia, let's talk about your game plan, your agenda for this practice. 90 minutes now, an hour later today, and then you qualify. Tomorrow is a completely dark day, no activity. Then you qualify Saturday. So what do you want to accomplish in this 90 minutes?
I just really want to try to get the car where it feels like it drives like the driver would like for it to feel right there, as far as, you know, going down the straightaway, comfortable getting down in the corner. Really focus more on the balance than anything else, because I think when you get to this evening's practice is when you really need to have a direction. If the car is responding to these things, you may want to try maybe a shock package or two just to kind of say, hey, I kind of like these, or no, I don't like these. And if we need to make an adjustment, now we've got a couple hours to build another set to get close to kind of put in that routine or those changes for later on this evening, because that final hour, you're going to be throwing a lot of stuff at it trying to fine-tune it.
Dick Berggren.
Well, one of the things that's very common with early practice is cars bouncing off the racetrack, and Joey Logano's car is suffering from precisely that. So the mechanics have just been underneath the car, taking a look at it to see where he's making contact with the racetrack. This is a very good car. This is the same car Logano drove to win the Nashville race in April of this year. Just got to get it up to get it faster.
Dick, I think you bring out a really good point when Dick's down there talking about a lot of these guys having this issue. These cars are running around pretty fast. I was out on the racetrack earlier today, like I said. The racetrack is starting to head back toward the old Lowe's Motor Speedway. We're getting some, not really, I mean, big bumps, but they're starting to get some swells there, and the cars are bouncing a little bit, getting down on the racetrack, so you got to keep it up off the racetrack for them to go fast.
Tony Raines, his best finish. You saw that at Talladega. He's run every race in this 2009 season. We'll be right back. Tonight, don't miss the season premiere of Wrecked, Life in the Crash Lane, when overturned semis, head-on collisions, and forces of nature wreak havoc on Chicago motorists. O'Hare is on the scene to face any challenge and take new risks to clear the carnage. Wrecked premieres tonight at 9:30 Eastern, only on Speed. NASCAR Nationwide Series practice continues here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Greg Biffle is the fastest early on. There's Kevin Harvick in the 33.
Bakersfield Basher is back again. We're on board right now with Kevin going off into turn one.
He's only out of the gas for just a second, Jeff. He got right to the bottom of turns 1 and 2, right back to the gas. You're in the throttle a lot at this racetrack in these Nationwide cars.
Pretty good record for this 33 car over the last 7 NASCAR Nationwide Series races, and some pretty good drivers behind the wheel.
4 different drivers right there, and Harvick won at Bristol. Stewart was second at Texas. Kelly Byers 4th at Nashville. Back again with Ryan Newman, who finished second at Talladega. I mean, and not by just a hair of a chin did he not win that race. But it's been very, very competitive. And then he's got his Camping World Truck Series team that's doing extremely well. Last week, Ron Hornaday was able to pull off the win here at Lowe's.
It's been very impressive what Kevin and Delana Harvick have been able to do with their whole operation. I mean, from the Nationwide side to the Camping World Truck Series side. You know, when they unload, they are in contention to win. We got a caution, Steve.
Yeah, you just heard the spotter right there letting Kevin know that debris was out, the caution was out, and what it was for. Debris on the back straightaway.
Harvick has 9 top 10 finishes here at Nationwide Series competition. We go back to the garage and Wendy.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the garage area, tucked inside his race car right now. He's made 5 laps out here in this practice session. His car really, really tight, according to Dale Jr. He did have a tire rub, but unlike the left rear that we saw on many race cars in the garage area, his tire rub is on the right front. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is hoping to get back on that racetrack soon, gain some laps. A win for Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the Nationwide car this this weekend definitely would transfer over to the Sprint Cup Series, give him a little bit of confidence for the rest of the year. Steve?
All right, thank you very much, Wendy. Hey, a win's a win.
A win's a win, but you know what, looking inside there, he's got Klondike on the side of the car this week. Reminds me of Mr. Freeze. Remember that right there as far as when he was playing in the Batman and Robin deal?
Oh, yes, yes.
The governor, Arnold
certainly
Schwarzenegger
do.
was there, the Mr. Freeze.
Well, we're going to freeze practice for just a few minutes, pick up the debris, and be right back. Brad Keselowski taking a look at his backup car 5 minutes into this practice. Hit the wall pretty hard with the right side of his Chevrolet. The team pulling out the backup, and they are getting it race ready.
And Steve, it looks to me, and Hermie, I think they're already grinding on that bolt, making sure it has a little extra clearance.
Yeah, they've learning from their mistake right there, making sure they got enough clearance with that bolt in the end of the sway bar, front sway bar.
Wendy, what's the update on that 5 car?
That's exactly what's going on. Brad Keselowski came over here to his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. check out his Nationwide car, look at the clearance on that bolt that caused problems for Brad Keselowski's right front in the first laps of practice. They are grinding it down, as you just saw. They had a little slight tire rub on that right front as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been tucked inside this race car with the window net up, but Brad Keselowski taking advantage of his downtime while the 88 crew works on his car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is back on the ground off the jack and should be headed back on the racetrack momentarily.
And Jeff Hermie, that's one of the advantages to having a teammate. You've got resources, you've got notes, and you can walk right next door.
It's huge, but unfortunately, you know, his disaster may be, you know, saving Dale Jr., but at the same time, you know, like I say, you hate to lose a race car for any reason, but that's something right there that, you know, that most teams, at least as far as a crew chief is concerned, that you really, you know, somewhat preventable.
Jason Leffler, 14th on the timing and scoring monitor. Dick Berggren is with him.
Yeah, but he's third in the points. He's also the top nationwide only driver in the point standings right now. You just come in off the racetrack. How's your hot rod?
It's hard to tell. It's hitting the racetrack really hard. Great Clips Camry's making too many sparks, you know, so we get it up off the racetrack, then we can work on the balance. That's what we're doing right now. We're going on scales, make a spring change, and we didn't get to test here like years past, so it's caught us out a little bit, but we'll be all right.
Jason's an Indy 500 veteran who last weekend managed to get to the Speedway. What was it like out there?
I love Indianapolis. The atmosphere is awesome. Got to talk to AJ Foyt and hang out with Bill Simpson a little bit, so that was entertaining, and got to see a lot of friends, so it's always fun to go up there in May.
You're lucky you spent time with those two guys who came back without a black eye. Well done.
I'll tell you, Jeff, that's one thing that you cannot have going on here at Lowe's Motor Speedway is the car hitting the racetrack. You can't, as Jason Leffler just said, you can't even start working on the balance or the handling as far as springs and shocks on the car until you have enough clearance to keep the chassis off the racetrack.
No, you're exactly right. We take a look at Joey Logano going around this racetrack, and looks to me like they got this car working pretty well. He was up to 4th right now, and just a moment ago, Mr. Kyle Busch, the winner of the last 2 races a year ago, well, he just now jumped up there to the top spot. Take a look here at what this 19-year-old is going to turn on Sunday. He'd be 19 on Sunday.
Not yet 19 years old.
Not yet. I got to quantify that. But he's 4th in the points and 30th in the Cup points. But the wins, look how impressive he is as far as the Nationwide is concerned.
Hermie, why do you think Joey's record in the Nationwide Series to this point is so much better than in the Cup side?
Confidence. I mean, he's starting to come on the Sprint Cup side, and what you have to have is a couple of good finishes. He jumped right in this Nationwide car that was a very dominant race car. He got up there, had some good finishes, won, and you just cannot underestimate the power of stepping in the car and thinking you can win.
You know what? I think I saw that last week, and Steve, you were here to witness it. They had a so-so run in the Open, but as soon as he got voted in to the All-Star race itself, which was a huge, I think, ego boost for this young man and confidence booster. They made some adjustments to that 20 car, and you know, he ran a whole lot better in the All-Star race than he did in the Open.
I could just see it after he had a good run at Talladega, had a good run at Darlington, and now when I seen him in the garage, just going and talking to him, he talks with a lot more confidence, like, hey, I belong here. I know I belong here. I got a long ways to go, but I'm showing these guys that I can do it. And some of the other drivers now, Jeff, are starting to really respect him a little bit more and having some nice things to say about him as far as how he performs on the racetrack.
And I think that's huge right there. You know how it is, Hermie. You've raced around enough guys throughout your entire career that you've got to have your competitors' respect. They got to be comfortable racing around you, and you've got to be able to race around them and not have to worry about getting into them. So I think it's starting to come together for the young man. It's all going to be good.
Logano finished 14th here in October. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Real tight. Want real tight everywhere.
So how do you fix real tight? How do you loosen them up, Hermie?
Well, a number of things. One, a rear spring with this Nationwide car is really a big issue, getting the back of that car jacked up. That helps you on your entrance as far as keeping you tight, but also helping the car turn through the middle and off. But generally, they've got these cars scienced out, these engineers, as far as, you know, what they need to do to the front end of the cars as well. But there's a number of things with this. And with this engine package, Jeff, with this car, a tight race car, you got to use all the horsepower you can. If you're too tight, that'll really kill you going into straightaway as well.
Yeah, it won't run through the corners right there. You also got to, Steve, you got to know where it's tied at. And a guy that's always on top of things, he knows what's going on in and out. He's down in the garage area right now, and I think it's our Dick Berger. Dick, what's going on down there?
What leads you to think I know what's going on?
Because you know how to listen. You know how to listen. I know that about you. What's going on with the 6 car?
I've been listening to David Reagan, car number 6. He has just pulled his car into the garage yard, and he's done a really nice job of debriefing. He's told the crew in great detail how the car is behaving in entry, in the middle of the corner, and exit as well. And that's exactly the information that his team needs in order to give him what he needs to go faster. This, believe it or not, is Reagan's first race since his Talladega win. Reagan has been sitting out for a while since taking home that big trophy. Steve?
All right, thank you, Dick.
Hey, Dick, right quick, we saw David take a paint pen and mark the steering shaft as well as the steering wheel. You know, and a lot of folks going, what in the world was he doing? Why don't you explain right here what he was doing to try to make it a little easier on himself and the team when he gets back in the car?
Well, how about well, David just walked off. I don't know if we can catch him. We're going to try to let him explain it. What were you doing with the steering column, the steering shaft?
We're just working on it a little bit. I get in the corner, and the back end wants to slide around. I get through the corner, and the front end wants to push a little bit. So it's pretty fast. So I think we've got something that we can work with. It feels good to be back in the Discount Tire Ford. And man, I wish the race was tonight. It's kind of sad to practice and do all this, take a day off, and then come back and race.
Well, welcome back.
What they do right there, Jeff, is he's telling Dick that he didn't hear the first
question. Yeah, he did a good job of covering up, though.
What you do when you first go out for practice first time is you put the steering wheel on the car where you want it indexed at while you're in the car. Then you mark it so that every subsequent time you get in during the course of the weekend, you can line up the steering wheel going on the steering shaft, and you don't have to have it too much tilt to the left or to the right. Index it properly the first time, and that's stay that way the whole weekend.
Well, that lets you know that the front wheels are doing what they're supposed to, because you use that the steering wheel, as Darrell used to tell me, that's kind of like your sight, you know, your lineup sight. When you go down the straightaway and you hold it a certain way, you know the car is going straight, helps you get into the corner, make sure you're right through the different parts of the corner. All those things right there, just kind of like they're driver things that make it more comfortable for you. And you just, like, again, you know, it's just something you see guys do every now and then.
Mark Davis, another 18-year-old from Silver Spring, Maryland, hoping to make his 3rd start of the season. He's headed to the garage, and that's where Wendy is.
Thank you, Steve. I'm on the other side of the Nationwide garage in Morgan Shepherd's garage area. He was under the hood working on his car, but what's caught my attention, what is on the side of his race car, the prelude to the dream that he's advertising on his race car in the Nationwide Series, of course, on June 3rd. That is the dirt race at Eldora Speedway for Tony Stewart, where he raises money for charity. He gets all of his NASCAR buddies to come join him at Eldora to race on dirt. I asked Morgan when I saw it, I said, so does this mean you're going to race on dirt? And he said, I've won more dirt races than a lot of those other boys. My question was, how's he going to roller skate in the garage area?
I'd like to see that trick, Wendy. I think that would be pretty interesting. How about you, Hermie? You any good on dirt?
At roller skating?
No, I'm talking about driving. I know you're no good on roller skating. I asked your daughter about that.
Well, to see it, it's only available on HBO pay-per-view. For more information, log on to TonyStewartFoundation.org. That's Wednesday, June 3rd.
Yeah, help raise some money for all his great causes that he's working with this year. I mean, it's going to be great for the troops and everything he's doing up there as far as the Prelude's concerned. It's just really good to see Morgan Shepherd, who's been very, very successful in the Nationwide Series in his entire career, carrying that great message around for all the race fans to know. It's coming up pretty quick. I mean, the month of June is right around the corner.
And Tony's caused a lot of his fellow Sprint Cup drivers to actually not just build their own dirt cars, but put a whole team together. They take this racing at Eldora very, very seriously.
Yeah, I thought your brother took it real serious too, but he ain't.
I think he was one and done on the
one and done. He's been looking for somebody to help put together a test operation for him.
He wasn't even real sure how to get it in first gear when he got there, so he did make progress.
He told me that about his very first race car. He couldn't do it. Make it a weekend of fun with family and friends at the Michigan International Speedway. Sprint Cup tickets starting at $40 and kids under 12, well, they're free. Call 1-800-354-1010 or log on to MISSpeedway.com for the June 14th LifeLock 400 at MIS in the Irish Hills. Well, Kyle Busch is now the quickest. Greg Biffle, who was fastest, is third. Dick has an update on Greg Biffle.
Well, Greg Biffle is having an interesting year in the Nationwide Series. He is running a partial schedule with just 4 starts so far, but he has won 2 of those 4 starts, 50%. The last 2 times he's been behind the wheel of a number 16, he has brought home the checkered flag and the trophy. He is being very quiet and very secretive about the behavior of the car, telling the crew its behavior only verbally, nothing over the radio, so his competitors can't hear what's going on. They can't hear the changes he's calling for.
Well, Dick, Greg Biffle, a 2-time winner here, Lowe's Motor Speedway in the Nationwide Series.
And to add with what Dick was saying about that 16 car being crew chief by Eddie Pardue, they have 3 wins this year. They have one other one with Matt Kenseth, and that was at Darlington the other week. So that car has been very competitive so far this year.
Back inside the car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff, it'd be interesting to see if we hear Dale talk after this run, but it looks like his car is a lot better right around the bottom of the racetrack.
He's 12th quickest overall.
Can't quite get off that corner, I think, the way he wants, Hermie, but I can guarantee you something right now. He may be on the bottom of the racetrack right now. You'll find him rim riding before it's all said and done. He usually likes to go upstairs. He's still not totally happy with that race car, I don't believe.
Gaining on him. Not there yet.
Nope.
Kyle Busch and Joey Logano having a chat, Dick Berggren.
Well, I'll tell you what, nobody could give Joey Logano, the kid, the 18-year-old rookie, better advice than Kyle Busch. He so far in 2009, Busch has led 1,766 laps. He's got a lot of experience here. He's a 4-time winner in the Nationwide Series here. And isn't it nice that teammates are able to share information with each other? The kind of help this kid, this Logano kid, is getting now, couldn't buy it for $1 million.
Just 18 years old Kyle Busch was when he made his first Nationwide Series start here and finished second.
Yeah,
no problem.
No problem for him, but you know, Hermie, you ever had one of those deals where those veterans say, hey, look, this son, you do it like this, you do it like, I tell you what, a better idea. Just get behind me and follow me and just do what I do.
Yeah. I tell you, a great memory I've got, first time I went to Daytona, I was in somewhat culture shock from being there. Davey Allison came over. I just happened to be nose to nose with his car in the garage, and Davey Allison came over to me. I guess the look on my face, he realized that I was trying to get a grasp of what was going on at Daytona. He said, come on out and follow me. And I went out there and followed him, and he gave me directions from inside the car where he was going and taught me all about hand signals and, you know, gave me a lot of confidence. And when you come to new places and trying to break in like Joey is, any kind of input that you can get from veterans certainly goes a long way.
On board now, watching Mike Bliss in the Miccosukee #1 Chevrolet. He's 13th in points.
And he's also slated, I believe, to be driving the Sprint Cup car, sister car to this later on this afternoon, the 09 car, the one that Mr. Brad Keselowski took the victory lane down in Talladega.
And remember, last time out, Steve, Mike Bliss had a tire rub on the left rear, so you can see they made some adjustments to that car. Maybe slid the rear end housing.
Mike, you're clear by 50. We need to check everything over. What do you?
Crew Chief
I don't think our front end's down. What I say is it's a little bit light feeling. in the center off.
Hermie, that's an expression that you used before earlier today. It feels light on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, what he's saying is when he gets to the center of the corner and starts picking the throttle up, it's like the front of the car is lifting up off the ground, getting that air under the front valence, and that causes lift, Jeff, as you come off these corners.
Yeah, and it pretty much tells you right there the car is not balanced the way he wants it. Not enough grip in that front end, Steve. So he wants to make a little bit of adjustment, I'm pretty sure, there, whether it be with shocks or, you know, it could be, you know, having the spring change.
You want the back up and the front down.
That's it.
Mike Bliss won here in October of 2004. Nationwide Series practice continues here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch still the quickest, followed by Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Joey Logano, and Paul Menard. Let's go back to the garage and Wendy.
Justin Allgaier is top 10 in this practice session, has raced here one other time. It was in the fall last year. Justin, what are you learning about your race car in this practice? You said it's not an easy racetrack.
No, it's not an easy racetrack. We're just trying to get a good balance on the car for as long as the straightaways are here. It's really tight corners, so we're working on that, but Chad Walsh and all the guys are doing a great job. We're getting the Verizon Wireless Dodge right where we want it.
All right, good luck to Justin Allgaier. And I'll tell you guys, every time he came up to me to prepare for this interview, he'd walk away real quick, run over to Chad Walter and give him some more feedback that he had remembered, and then run back over to me. Justin Allgaier trying to give as much feedback as he can. Let's head over to Dick Bergeron.
Well, a bunch of mechanics underneath the hood of Kyle Busch's race car, and they are wearing worried looks on their faces. What's going on with the engine?
Not sure. They just oil got a little milky and was kind of steaming out of the oil tank and the overflow. So I think there's some water getting in there somehow. So we got to make sure that NASCAR approves the engine change and bolt another bullet in it, hopefully, and get out there, get some practice tonight. Make sure everything's good with that piece if we do change it, and get this non-energy drink Toyota to victory lane tomorrow or Saturday night.
On a happier note, you had quite a conversation with Joey Logano. Did you give him enough pointers for him to win the race on Saturday?
We'll see. I tried, but they're going to work now on some setup stuff to try to help us out, because we won't get the track time we need. So Joey's got the same deal in his car that we have. So if they fix something or find something that seems to help them, we'll be able to utilize the same stuff. So that's promising there, and looks like we're heading in the right direction.
Two young men helping each other. Sneap.
I guarantee you Kyle Busch didn't tell him enough to win. Maybe enough to finish second, but not enough to win.
You know, a lot of guys after the All-Star race Saturday night, we watched Jason Leffler, took Sunday off. Maybe they went to the lake. Not Kyle Busch. He went to Iowa and raced and won.
We've said it all along, Steve. If you called down there right now and said, hey, Kyle, they got a race going on in the infield.
Yeah.
You want to drive? He'd be over there driving it, because, again, if his car's not on the racetrack, he'll find something to get into. He loves to drive race cars.
Kyle Busch, one of 6 former winners here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Busch has 4 wins, Jeff Burton 3, Biffle 2, Mike Bliss, Carl Edwards, and Joe Nemechek, also former winners here in this series.
Now, I will tell you one thing. If you look at his face, and he was trying to be polite about it, but that's frustration right there, because he wanted to run those setups himself. He didn't want to have to work, rely on Joey Logano how it feels, because, again, he wants to make it 3 in a row. But they've got that engine issue right now. As you take a look right there, nationwide all-time wins at Lowe's Motor Speedway. He's closing in on some pretty good company right there. He's already tied with Harry Gant ahead of Jeff Burton and gaining on Mark Martin when it comes to this racetrack. So he'd like to get a little bit closer come Saturday night if at all possible. But it's better to have this problem now than Saturday night for sure. But anytime you have an engine issue, it kind of makes you cringe, because that's something you can't have enough, as you said earlier about Superman. You don't have x-ray vision. You can't see inside that engine, see what's going on.
Handsome Harry Gant there with 4 wins, and handsome Hermie Sadler. Woo! I told Hermie Sadler we could transfer Handsome to him.
I'm not sure.
Hey, I got something for him. Woo! You remember that from Saturday night?
The Nature Boy.
Yeah.
Coverage of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice from Charlotte is brought to you by Husqvarna. Master your great outdoors with Husqvarna, professionally proven outdoor equipment. To find your nearest dealer, visit Husqvarna.com. Carl Edwards second quick right now. Dick Bergeron is with him.
Yeah, and last weekend he was a pit road reporter on speed. So which is more difficult, being a pit road reporter or driving the race car?
Well, like I was telling you, it's a tough call. They're both tough. When the car is good, like the Scott's Fusion is right now, definitely harder to do the pit road reporting. You got people talking in your ear, people handing you notes, and then you don't want to bother people. You know, I'm up there on Kevin Mannion's pit box, and you can tell he's just like, get out of here, man. So you guys got it rough.
Yeah, but it's a great place to be because we get to watch where all the dirt is, all the noise, all the action, and all the sparks.
Oh yeah, I heard all sorts of things from, you know, pit strategy to what everybody ate for lunch before the race. So I learned a lot about different teams and had a good time. And it's just cool. You know, a lot of people told me they enjoyed watching the race on Speed Channel. It was a great event. So hopefully we'll have another couple of those like that this weekend.
Yeah, you did a great job too. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I hope they pay you more than they pay me.
Very much.
And we're giving Carl the
pit reporting
tutorial.
101. Is that 101?
The
Steve
tutorial.
Burns trying to steal the camera. It's always a
No, he didn't even know how to put it on, much less work the equipment.
And you laughing at him.
I am.
What's the head?
My
Is
head's
the head too big?
He said his head was too big, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah,
Just
much
like,
better.
Just like the race car, sometimes you got to make some adjustments.
Yep.
To get it right.
He did a great job.
Well, Hermit, let me ask you a question. You've driven, now you've worked the pit road, and then you've been in the booth. I mean, you know, any comparisons you want to share with us?
Not really, other than Carl did make a good point. A lot of times when you're on pit road, you go up to talk to somebody, and they're like, get out of here.
Busy.
I have seen some of that. Call me later.
You mean guys like Happy Harvick would kind of give you a dirty look?
Yeah, most of the guys understand that.
Yeah.
They got a job to do, we got a job to do,
Yep.
and you know, but you got to understand the other side of it. A lot of these guys, or all of these guys here, are very, very competitive, and nobody's happy when things go bad. And when things go bad, a lot of times, that's when we want to talk to them.
Still riding along here with Kevin Harvick, and right here he kind of brings her down to the bottom of the racetrack. He's running right around that white line. He's not running up high.
Dick Berggren.
Well, adding a little bit about what's involved in doing a pit road report type thing. If you're covering the races, ordinarily you listen in one ear to your producer. That same ear you also hear the program. In your other ear, you're listening to the scanner. So you're listening to driver crew chief conversations. You're likely to have a PR person shoving a piece of paper at you with some information about what their driver is doing. You've got a guy that's with you, a spotter, and he's trying to tell you things. So it's just a massive amount of input that comes into your head all at one time. And trying to filter it out, well, it takes a guy like Carl Edwards to be able to do it.
Oh, come on now, Dick. I told you earlier, you know what's going on, and you just proved it right there. You're just like a computer. We just keep feeding the information into you, and sooner or later you spit it back out.
A lot of times what's, you know, fun is it seems to be a disconnect between the drivers and the PR people. When you walk through the garage, the PR people are giving you information. Can you talk to my driver about this? Can you talk to my driver about that? He's doing an appearance tomorrow here, there, and yonder. And you go talk to the driver, and he's like, yeah, not interested. So,
yeah, kind of like, what appearance?
Yeah, what
They
appearance?
ain't told me.
I'm glad you said that, Hermie.
Yeah, they'll be looking for him, not us, right?
Oh. Let's see. So Carl officially did 2 interviews, but he had 8. He was shot down 8 times.
Wow. They tell Carl, please don't bother me now, and they tell some of the other of us, leave, get out.
What were they going to tell Carl? They're going to give him information that he could use to win the race later? No. You ever think about that, Hermie Sadler? They're not going to help out a competitor.
Carl was just doing a job for Speed.
That's right.
Completely professional.
But he was wearing his fire
right
suit.
down the middle. Yeah, that might have been a mistake.
But the thing is, right now,
if he'd been dressed in like us,
yeah,
they might not have recognized him.
Carl did one better than Hermie did the time he went out. He got 1 interview and got 9 rejections. So I mean,
I'm batting about 10% for everything in my life. No question about it.
Kyle Busch is still the quickest, followed by Edwards, Biffle, Vickers, Logano, and Menard. We'll be right back. Sunday, NASCAR race day takes center stage in Charlotte. Find out how NASCAR's biggest names prepare for the longest event of the season, the 600. Don't miss Wendy Venturini's Real Deal interview with the rejuvenated Mark Martin. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live Sunday, 3 Eastern on Speed. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Steve Burns, Hermie Sadler, Jeff Hammond, Wendy Venturini, and Dick Berggren following NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. See, 3 drivers have run sub 30-second laps. And Jeff Hammond, that means we have 3 drivers over 180 miles per hour. And we really haven't talked about the speed of this racetrack that much yet.
No, we haven't, Steve. I mean, the fastest lap ever posted here was done by Jimmy Johnson back in 2005, right after a paving job and a different set of type of tires. And it was 187 miles an hour. So, you know, still a little bit off of that. But to be out here running around in race trim at over 180 miles an hour gives you some kind of perception of how quick this racetrack is. And when they block these things off a bit later on today, we're going to see that speed jump on up there. I think we'll be down in the, you know, the low 29s when it get ready to go qualifying later on this evening. I don't think anybody will be doing qualifying runs during this first practice session, Steve. I think everybody's working on race runs. They'll wait to that final practice when the racetrack is more closer to what it'll be like tomorrow. I think as far as qualifying is concerned, they'll probably make a run, maybe the early part of the final practice.
Let's go back to the garage and Dick Berggren.
Sitting all by itself in a quiet corner of the garage, I just found Brad Keselowski's right front tire. Look at this. No wonder that thing let go on the first lap of practice.
And Dick, we were talking about how that bolt is almost like a knife. You can see it cut a very clear, definitive line all the way around the inside of that tire. And again, when that happens, I mean, it's just hello wall. Nothing else you can do.
And there is an inner liner inside of that tire that can help keep the car up off the racetrack headed to the wall. But look at the rim. You can see the real flush contact with the wall coming off turn 2.
Well, if that's the result of having the help with the inner liner, I'd hate to see it without the inner liner.
Sometimes inner liner help, you know, if you didn't have one, it would slow the car down a little bit more before it gets there. But certainly got to have inner liners running these kind of speeds at these racetracks.
Paul Menard is 6th overall right now, having a very productive practice. Wendy Venturini has more on Menard.
Yes, Paul Menard has been busy giving feedback to his crew. The last time he was in the garage area, they did make a shock change. He was bouncing that left front in 1 and 2, and he said this time it was affecting him, so they did want to make that shock change. He was trying to get to the white line in the banking, and the car just wasn't turning. He said it was turning from the center off, but he really needed help going into the turn. Keep in mind, the last time Paul Menard has raced in the Nationwide Series at Lowe's Motor Speedway was back in October 2006. Paul Menard trying to get some laps here at the Speedway. And you guys talked about what do these drivers do on their days off in Kyle Busch racing? Well, Paul Menard, the day after the All-Star race, he headed to Toledo Speedway for the ARCA REMAX Series race. He decided to spend his free Sunday racing in the ARCA race last Sunday.
And Wendy, I read that he went across the start-finish line backwards. Paul Menard finished 3rd here in October of 2005.
Backwards?
Somebody took exception with him and
gave him a little help.
Yep, gave him a little help.
So it was kind of like one of those Ricky Bobby type finishes.
He was not on fire, however.
Wasn't on fire, okay. You know, he's had, since they started this team over there at Gates Racing, they've really been pretty darn impressive as far as, you know, every time they show up at the racetrack, they've got a very fast race car.
Yeah, he finished 5th at Texas and was 11th at Bristol the week before that. 3 starts for Menard this season in the Nationwide Series.
You see him right on that white line in turns 1 and 2, Jeff.
95, all right, bring it to us here, bud.
He's coming in, but he's been experimenting with some different lines up in 3 and 4, kind of working the bottom in 1 and 2 and letting the car kind of slide up to the middle groove in 3 and 4.
Another thing I noticed there in 3 and 4 is really making a late entrance into that turn right there. You know, staying out real wide, real high, and then kind of coming across that center like you talked about earlier, making that one initial turn and be able to hold that steering wheel throughout that entire corner as well as the exit.
This is Brian Vickers in the 32 car. Watch him. Turns 1 and 2, same thing, right around the bottom of the racetrack. He'll come off turn 2, and he's been using the middle of the racetrack in 3 and 4. We'll see if he does it again.
Come out pretty good here.
Chasing that weather, Steve. It was cloudy when we started this practice. Now the sun's starting to peek through. So again, this racetrack's going to change, and you got to be careful that some of the adjustments you made, you know, you don't want to overreact to them if you're going to think about working on it.
Weather forecast looks good for this weekend. Looking for a high of around 80 degrees on Sunday for the Coca-Cola 600.
I told you earlier, Mother Nature is a race fan.
Ooh. Mother Nature did good last Saturday night.
She did real good last Saturday night.
Back with more Nationwide Series practice after this. Commemorate the 25th running of the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race with Speed All-Star Apparel. Get one-of-a-kind t-shirts and hats plus a special edition diecast signed by Bobby Allison. Buy your Speed All-Star Apparel today. Just go to shopspeedtv.com, click on the All-Star Apparel, and start shopping. Let's go back to Dick Bergeron.
With Stan Barrett, who leads one of the most interesting lives of all the people in motorsports. He's a movie stuntman and also a race car driver. What's your most recent movie stunt?
I got beat up a little bit on Life on Mars. I played a little stunt character part on that about a month and a half ago.
And Indianapolis, you've been off there. What's that been like?
It's been pretty unbelievable to go up there and experience it's just an amazing place to be able to be a part of the Indianapolis 500 and all the events that go around there and drive the speeds that those cars get to go and feel that. It's just a great feeling, and it's been a lot of fun and a great experience.
Well, Stanton didn't make the Indianapolis 500, but he's working on his nationwide car so that he will make it here at Lowe's Motor Speedway for Saturday night. We're glad to see you back.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be back with all my friends here and in these cars, and looking forward to running Charlotte. It's one of my favorite places and a very tough track to get around.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Dick, he is 36th overall of 47 drivers who have taken time here in this first practice, a 90-minute practice. Take a look at Joe Nemechek, a former winner here. And as Hermie said, they'll practice later today. Tomorrow is a dark day at the Speedway, no activity.
Be a little bit loose into one.
Joe Nemechek saying his race car is a little bit loose. No activity here tomorrow. They will qualify and race on Saturday.
I tell you that, for a driver, that's a pretty big deal too, to run your last practice laps in a car on a Thursday evening. You come back Saturday about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean,
was it 3:45 they qualified?
3:45 qualifying on Saturday. I mean, you got to get right back into it in your first laps back on the racetrack, qualifying laps. That's going to be pretty challenging for these drivers.
That's the reason why you get paid the big bucks.
Hermie.
I missed the big bucks part of this. But you do. You want to go home from the racetrack with good, good feelings and good vibes as a driver. And not only have you not been in your race car in over a day and a half, you don't know the track conditions. Sprint Cup guys will be out there.
Are you trying to tell me you don't want to be the first guy out to qualify?
I'm just trying to say that it's not every weekend these guys go to the racetrack and they've got to practice and then sit out a day and a half and go back and qualify. And it's just a little bit different than a normal schedule.
Joe Nemechek won here in 1997.
And no, I don't want to be the first guy on the track either.
It took you long enough.
Yeah. There's Michael Annett.
He's been putting down some laps, trying to figure this racetrack out. 30 laps of practice so far.
Paul Menard has also run over 30 laps. He put 31 on the board. And the Biff has 33 laps. Greg Biffle. Jeff, we had Michael Annett on trackside. I think it was last year up at New Hampshire. He's a former hockey player out of Iowa.
Yeah, and after watching some of the hockey on TV recently, because I'm pulling for the Carolina Hurricanes, that's a rough way to make a living. I mean, those guys right there, you talk about driving race cars and rodeo riders. I tell you, that's a special breed of man that can get out there and skate for one thing and then bounce them off those. They don't have safer barriers there, do they, Hermie?
No, they don't. But
big old plexiglass safer barriers.
I've just started to watch a little bit of hockey, when playoff time comes around, and they play a little bit of hockey and do a whole lot of fighting. It's fun to watch.
Well, Brad Keselowski wrecked 5 minutes into this practice. We are now 1 hour and 11 minutes, or 12 minutes rather, in this practice. So good job by that race team to get this backup car onto the racetrack.
At least give them an opportunity to shake it down and make sure there are no rubs with this race car, no leaks, no problems, and then they can really go to work on it in the break, Jeff, and then really be prepared for that 6 o'clock practice.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a great job by this 88 team, having the thing prepared. Tony Years Sr. and everybody over there at JR Motorsports did an outstanding job after getting that car off the truck and getting it done. Let's take a quick look at what happened to him right there at the very beginning of practice. Goes off down here in turn 1, coming through turn 2, and all of a sudden, listen.
Ow. And he flattened the right side of that car.
That's
from
not
the back
that's not a
stretch.
good sound, Steve.
You know, Dick Berger was able to show you the tire, what happened. A bolt got against the inside of the tire itself, cut it down, and as he got right through the late exit of that corner, it went flat, and he went straight in the wall.
Well, Kyle Busch is still the fastest, but you heard Dick Bergen report they might be changing a motor. We'll update you on all the stories right after this. Work continues in the garage area, busy garage area here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. Kevin Harvick debriefing over his race car. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
And Harvick has had a really good year right now. He and his wife Delana are leading the owners' points in the Nationwide Series. This number 33 car with 4 different drivers has had a win, 3 seconds, and 7 top 5s. But they've got a long way to go on this car. Just before Harvick got out of the car, he cleaned his radio and said that perhaps he wasn't explaining just how tight it was. That on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. And next door, Kyle Busch's crew continues with their engine change. That motor is coming out of the 18.
All right, Dick, thanks very much for the update. Hey, Jeff, we should mention, too, that Kyle Busch even referenced it. You can't just be pulling motors out or backup cars out. NASCAR has to approve all those things.
Now, they have come up with a system where, you know, you can use one engine a weekend. If you have a problem with an engine, you have to be able to prove what the problem is. I mean, NASCAR will literally tear that engine down to verify that you're not trying to pull a faster because, well, listen, doesn't feel right or whatever. You've got to have a legitimate problem. He explained that he had water getting in the engine, which is a very legitimate problem. But cars or engines, either one, you have to be damaged enough that NASCAR feels like, you know, you have no other choice, and they will work with you on that to make sure that you can, you know, get that accomplished. Even if it means if you need to stay late at night to work on your race car in certain events, you know, you crash in practice or lose an engine, they'll do that. But you've got to be able to verify that that engine or that car needs to be replaced before you can go up there on the truck and get you another.
The other thing, this practice session, Jeff, we're hearing a lot of people talking about cars being too tight, way too tight. We heard Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick. They had different tire combination, and they didn't get to test here this time. Just a product of these guys trying to catch up to the racetrack?
I think so. I think they might be just a little bit off as far as testing is concerned. I did hear some of the teams tell me last week, Herman, that this particular tire doesn't have a lot of stagger. And what stagger is the difference between the size of the tire on the right side versus the left. And if they're closer to the same size, the car has a tendency to want to go straight rather than turn. So for that reason, got trouble right there in the middle of 3 and 4. You got a car up against the safer barrier, spinning around. Yep, hard impact right there. 75 car. That's Brandon Canuck.
Brandon Canuck. And he has backed it into the wall in a bad way.
Yeah, I was watching him, Steve. He came in on a real high arc, like a lot of the guys have been doing, and all of a sudden the car just really came around on him, and up in that outside safer barrier, it went.
Sorry. I don't know what happened there, Bob. I drove it down in the corner. It was good. It started to chatter right front, and it came around.
So tough break for Brandon Canuck, trying to make his first NASCAR Nationwide Series start.
And the Bob he's talking about is Bob Shackleton. Got down to the bottom of the race car, and again, there it is.
Bob Shack, longtime ARCA REMAX Series driver and owner.
We're talking about the speeds here. We don't talk a lot about it. It's hard to really fathom how fast they're going, but you can tell by the damage to this car, Steve, just how fast he bagged that thing into the wall.
And Hermie, just watching it, it looked like that car got loose on him. Really, like I say, on the entry, he got down to the bottom of 3 and 4, and it looked like he just started around from that point right there and kept on coming.
And he had just gotten on the racetrack. That was only his completing his 4th lap, so they were just getting through inspection, getting on the racetrack.
You see Brandon Canuck, just 23 years old, out of Sydney, Ohio, walks away from the car. Let's go back to Wendy.
And Brian Vickers has pulled into the garage area. They've made a few changes. You see him talking to his crew chief, Trent Owens. They did want to go back out and try something really quick. However, now that this caution flag has come out, they've decided to finish up this practice session and let Brian Vickers head over to the Cup garage. He's giving some last-minute feedback to Trent. Before he heads over there, he was a little bit tight, but overall happy. He's 4th on the chart, and they do feel confident when the sun came out that the car adjusted to the way they wanted. 3 top 5s and 7 starts for Brian Vickers. His best finish came last time here in the fall of 3rd. Steve?
All right, thank you, Wendy. So caution out for the 3rd time in this practice. Brad Keselowski brought it out the first time. for his accident just 5 minutes in. We had a debris caution, and now Brandon Knupp hard into the wall in between turns 3 and 4. Well, Jason Keller's going to head out to pit road. We're going to head to a break, but stay with us. We'll be right back here at Lowe's. Tomorrow night, don't miss NASCAR Trackside. Jimmy Johnson will be stopping by as the ultimate Friday night house party heads to Uptown Charlotte. NASCAR Trackside tomorrow night at 7 Eastern, only on Speed.
The Road Dogs will be out tomorrow night.
Copy that. Let's go to Dick.
With Joey Logano, we were watching Kyle Busch over here having conversation with you. Any of it make any sense?
We were trying to get there. I think, you know, he blew up that motor or whatever happened over there. So he's just picking my brain, see what we did to our car, and see what helps. So.
Wait a minute, he wasn't helping you? He was picking your brain?
Well, because he didn't get no laps on the racetrack. I know it's the first time it was ever that way. But I don't know. We'll have to see what the game's up to. We're okay. I don't think we're setting the fast lap, but I think we're lasting pretty long. We just made a qualifying trim, and it was horrible. So we'll work on that. I'm sure we'll be better by when we Saturday. We qualify Saturday here, yeah.
And on Sunday, you turn a corner, becoming an old man, 19 years old. What are you going to celebrate? What are you going to do to celebrate your 19th birthday?
Hopefully, I win the Coke 600. That'd be perfect, wouldn't it? We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't think birthdays are a big deal. Once I turned 18, that's the only thing I cared about from there, so I can go racing. So, I mean, that's not a big deal to me.
In advance, from all of us at Speed, happy birthday.
You know, it's amazing that Dick can sit there and talk to somebody about that and try to relate.
Heads up
to him being 19.
Here it comes.
Dick, can you remember your 19th birthday?
Yeah, I have to look it up, though. I remember my 19th birthday. I certainly do. Yeah, I was looking forward to one day being a race car driver just like this kid, but the best I did was local tracks and local cars, but it was still a wonderful time.
How old are you turning, though?
How old am I turning?
Yeah.
Just a minute, I'll have to check.
3 digits?
67.
3 digits. He said 3 digits. He said 3 digits, Dick. Where's the respect?
Happy birthday, Dick Bergeron.
That's it.
Well, Brandon Knupp's battered Chevrolet heads into the garage area. Car owned by Bob Schacht.
Look at that damage. Look at the deck lid and the left rear quarter panel. I mean, he had hard impact into that wall, Jeff.
The rear clip on that car is shoved up almost back even with the rear end on that car like you're talking about. And you see some of the NASCAR officials there. They know this is going to be a backup car, but what they like to do is inspect what happened to make sure that everything gave the way it should and everything as far as the fuel cell and all the lines did their jobs as far as safety is concerned. They're always documenting each and every accident to make sure that they don't miss something that maybe will prevent somebody from getting hurt or from a bad situation getting worse in the event of an accident.
Racers back out on the racetrack after a delay. Red flag, caution flag for Brandon Knupp.
Yeah, we only have about 5 or 6 minutes left in this practice, so if you got any last-minute adjustments or want to make a quick try, you better hurry up and make them.
Pretty eventful practice. Brad Keselowski to a backup. Kyle Busch has to change a motor. We'll be right back. This has been a long day already, a long 90 minutes for Brad Keselowski. He has trouble again.
Guys, if I didn't know any better, he just raised the hood, looked inside that car, and slammed the hood. Hermie, what do you think he's getting ready to say? He probably has another inside wall of that tire being cut because it looked to me like it went flat again.
We'll take a look at it again. This is a backup car. This is not a replay. This is actually off turn 4.
Ooh.
Same looking kind of incident, Jeff, but off turn 4 instead of off turn 2.
Yep.
And it might not look like it from where it hit the wall, but there's heavy damage to the right side of that car.
That car's done,
knocked the rear end out underneath it as well as the right front damage. I mean, that was a very heavy impact to that car again. The last time I remember something like this occurring, and it's been this long ago that I remember, a guy crashing 2 cars like this in one day's practice was Alan Kowicki up at Dover. Yeah. And he had to go back home and had to get a 3rd backup and bring it all the way up there to be able to compete in that race.
Well, fortunately, home is close by for JR Motorsports. Wendy.
We just heard from Pops, Tony Uri Sr. come over the radio and say, call the shop. They need a sway bar with a better bolt on it because it's the same issue twice with the primary and the backup car. It looks like some more troubles continue for the 88. And I did want to add that Mike Bliss is making an engine change on that one car. His team making that engine change because he did miss a shift in this practice session.
Been very eventful practice, guys.
That's an expensive mistake.
That's one right there to where it's how does Larry McEndarrow like to say it?
Don't beat yourself.
No, get me a name.
Oh, that too.
That too. Get me a name.
I mean, you just don't.
I mean, that's hard, guys.
You just don't see this kind of stuff happening at this level of racing for a team like JR Motorsports. I mean, they're usually so prepared to get on the racetrack and go.
It's not supposed to happen, period. I mean, I'm just telling you guys, I mean, that's unacceptable. And I know that Tony Uri Sr., you know, we kind of say it in jest, but I can tell you right now, he's going to be looking to try to find out what happened, why it happened. And as I said before, give me a name.
Brad Keselowski 5th in points. They've rebounded in a big way since disappointing. There's Tony Uri Sr. Pops.
And you know what else, guys? We didn't talk about this. Where do they go? Do they go to the 88 and try to grab their backup, or are they wait on one to be delivered from the shop? Because, I mean, they're out of bullets.
Wow. And as Jeff said, an eventful practice. Kyle Busch, Dick Berggren, and Wendy Venturini confirming that they have changed a motor on the 18. Mike Bliss in the 1 also changing a motor. And Brandon Knupp, hard contact, he destroys his number 75.
Yeah, a lot going on in this practice. Kyle Busch the fastest, he's changing an engine. Brad Keselowski wrecks 2 race cars. Dale Earnhardt Jr. not happy with his car. Mike Bliss changing engines. A lot of stuff going on, Jeff.
Kevin Harvick, he's not happy with his race car. So, I mean, there's a lot of people down that garage area right now, Steve, that are anything but happy after this first practice session.
It's going to make our 6 o'clock practice session even more important as these guys get ready for Saturday.
And dramatic.
And a lot of the cars you see in his gridlock here.
Hey,
usually it's on I-77.
Yeah, which way
but
did
here
it go?
On pit road. They're headed back to the garage. This practice is now over.
Everything's gone crazy, go nuts.
Crazy, go nuts. So this NASCAR Nationwide Series practice is over. A lot happening here in this 90-minute practice. Well, right now we're going to send it down to the speed stage and John Roberts. Stay with us here on Speed.